How about your dad? Is he cool?
Uh, yeah. I mean, he's lame, but cool. Um, we go see movies a lot. He's funny. And that man can cook.
Nice.
Like old school foods, like casseroles and meatloaf.
Wow. Yeah, I imagine your family's like the perfect family.
What? No, we're not.
Your dad's hilarious and he cooks and I bet he dresses up for Halloween and passes out really good candy.
This is ridiculous.
And then there's you.
Me what?
You're like the perfect son.
What?
You are. You
No,
totally are.
no.
You do group sports, you stay on task, you obviously get A's, and everybody likes you. You're like a model citizen.
I have no idea who you're talking about. He sounds nice. He does not sound like me.
Can you stop being charming for like a second?
Fine. I eat cold hot dogs.
What?
Cold hot dogs. Often. And I never floss. Like
Oh.
ever. And I don't think babies are cute. I think they look like potatoes. And I kind of cheated on my French final last year. Model citizen.
Child's play.
All right. I also dumped my girlfriend that I dated forever for this really stupid sophomore on the drill team the first week in high school. No reason. She was just prettier.
Okay, I get it. You're human.
No, no. It was so bad. Mandy posted pictures of us all over Alana's page and tagged her in them. And even though I tried to warn her and dumped Mandy like that afternoon, Alana was so humiliated, she took down all her accounts for like a week.
Whoa.
A week! The first week of high school. Yeah, that was me being such a good guy.
No, see, you realized your fault, which means you learned, which means you are a stellar human being, you jerk. Why can't you just be pissed off and out of shape like everybody else?
Why can't you be just not funny and totally normal and super boring like everybody else?
Stop.
And you're honest about yourself, which I'm not always.
Yeah, right. You're like the most genuine guy ever.
Well, sometimes one lie is easier to keep up than a bunch of little ones. But you're completely yourself. You take these pictures, you're not afraid of yourself. You're way more real than I am. You should have your own TV show. I'd watch it.
Well, I bet it would be on like PBS at like 3 a.m. So, you like the pictures?
I do.
I like the close-ups, textures and light and stuff.
They're really good.
It's like there's this beauty that most of us miss because you can only see it in like miniature.
Small stuff.
At least I can't ruin the small stuff.
I know it sucks for you to be here all the time. I mean, I don't understand, but you know,
Yeah, thanks. It's just like I can't even have fun. Like fun is hard. What's the point?
what's the point of what?
Anything. With all the doctors and hospitals and stuff. Everyone is trying to make this all upbeat and positive, and it's like, I'm not an idiot. I get what you're doing, and it's just making things worse. And my mom, she worries. Well, her support group worries, and boy, does she support that group. Anyway, she worries that I'm not being a teenager and that's gonna mess me up. And I'm like, Mom, I'm already messed up. And she says I should stop being so dark. And I'm like, Mom, I'm naturally dark. And she hates that. And then I say, well, you're not the one that's gonna die first. And that kind of stops the interaction.
You're not gonna die.
I might.
No, you're not. Don't say that. You're not.
If things don't fix themselves in a hurry.
Don't talk like that. I'm serious.
I'm just saying that if it's gonna happen, it should just go ahead. It's like, fix me or kill me already.
Jesus, Caroline, what the hell?
What?
You don't mean that. That is not what you mean.
Please don't tell me what I mean.
You can't talk to me about New York and traveling the world and say that to me. That is not fiction. That is your life.
It's really not.
But it could be.
But it probably won't be. And nothing pisses me off more than everyone trying to make this all sweetness and hope when my life is mostly shit.
What am I supposed to say to that?
Who cares what you say? It's not about you.
That's not fair.
It's not fair to me, okay? It's not fair to me first.
Of course it's not fair to you, so don't say stuff like that.
I'm just being honest. I'm calling it out. I don't want it to be so unspeakable.
Then don't joke about it.
It's not a joke.
I know it's not. You don't want to die. You don't want to die. That is not an option.
Why are you yelling at me?
Because I'm invested now.
This is just an English project.
You can't keep playing shit off like you don't care. You do. You care about your art and your cat and a ton of shit. So why do you say that and push people away and piss people off when I know you don't want to die? You don't. You don't want to die.
Of course I don't, but it's a full-time job to be scared of it, so I'm not.
Why not?
What?
Why aren't you scared?
Because.
Because why?
Because I've lived with that son of a bitch all my life and it doesn't win until I let it.
Exactly. You stare that shit down and you don't give up. You don't.
You don't know anything. Team Caroline fucking sucks.
Yes, it does. But I won't bail if you won't.
I don't want to be on Team Caroline anymore.
Well, tag me in. I'll be on Team Caroline. You can be on Team Whitman. Team Yop.
Team Yop?
Team Yop for the win.
Thanks for making me cry a little bit and forget that my mute button was on. Everyone, you can feel free to pop your cameras on right now and come on in while some of us recover from this scene. That was really, really beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
It was really beautiful, guys. It's really a gorgeous play. If you haven't ever seen I and You, at least you can't see it at the moment, but you can read it. You can read it, and it's just gorgeous. I think I see our props designer for this show, Miranda, a little bit choked up. Hi, Miranda. Can I unmute you for a second, Miranda? Yeah, come on in.
I was reliving some memories. It was beautiful. I forgot the line about the babies look like potatoes. I completely forgot that line, and it was perfect. Yeah, my cousin just had a baby, and I'm like, she does look like a potato, and yeah, it's wonderful.
That's really beautiful.
Thank you. It was really good.
Okay, I'm going to check and look over in the chat window. I'm going to start off with a couple of questions, and then people feel free if you want to raise your hand in the Zoom or ask a question in the chat. Seriously, guys. I see Diana saying, good job, kids. Alejandra saying, bravo. Carol saying, amazing. Wish I'd seen the original show. Evelyn and Christian. Hi, Evelyn and Christian. Nice job, guys. Oh, it was beautiful. Hi, Anne. Oh, we've got such lovely City Lights people here. And in case y'all didn't hear me say this at the top of the show, that was for you, Carol. Behind me, you'll see a production photo from the original production with the set designed by the wonderful Ron Gasparnetti and properties designed by Miranda Whipple. I'm trying to remember who else. Lighting design by Mia Kumamoto, costume by Jane Lambert. I'm sure I'm forgetting someone, but it was a wonderful show. Oh, and directed by Noelle GM Gibbs, of course. Gorgeous show. Yvette and Davied, could you both just jump in and start by telling us a little bit about yourselves? For those of us who haven't seen the show, tell us what you love the most about I and You. And Davied is saying, Yvette, go first, so it's all you.
It's always that. I always have to go first. Hi, I'm Ivette Deltoro. I work at City Lights. I'm currently the casting assistant and patron experience manager, although we're not in the theater right now. I know, tears from Anne. But yeah, I've been with the company since 2013. So looking forward to many more years of being with the company, which is great. What else am I supposed to say?
Tell us, what are the other shows you've done at City Lights since then?
The year after doing I and You, I did Rapture, Blister, Burn, which was a lot of fun. I think that playing Caroline prepared me for playing Avery in that production, because it was taking Caroline slightly like another notch up and then making her like a 21-year-old who just like has all of these opinions on like, you know, new wave feminism, and it was a lot of fun. It's completely, I like playing these characters that are not at all like me, who just like yell and are just really angry about everything. But I've done that. I was in a production at the Pair of oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, Jeffrey Lowe. A production of OK Cupid, which we had to keep renaming in different ways because of problems with OK Cupid. But was in a production of that, and then I played Anne of, I was in Anne of 1,000 Days, and I played Anne Boleyn at the Dragon, and that was the last production that I did. I've just kind of been taking on passion projects. Like after doing I and You, I remember Davied and I talked a lot. We had a lot of time to talk before the show, and he was talking about how he was going to focus so much more on his music, and he was going to be selective about the things that he did on stage. He was going to take things on that he thought were going to be important or that meant something to him, that were passion projects, and that really resonated with me, and I like reminding him of that just to embarrass him. So Anne was one of those. I think after playing Caroline and I and You, it's just such a special play, and it was such a wonderful experience that doing just anything didn't seem right. So I haven't done a ton after this show, but there's a reason. I haven't really wanted to.
Your turn, Davied.
Oh, all right. Let's talk. What are we saying? There's so much there. What do you want to know?
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, I'm Davied Morales, San Jose, born and raised, Bay Area.
Yeah.
Yeah, acting, fell in love at an early age. Grew up with the TV being my babysitter, and I was just like, how do I do that? And luckily I got into middle school right by my house that like specialized in drama, and the bug hit me, and I've been hooked ever since. Met Ivette at Dianza way before I and You, and luckily I just kept on doing it and landed this beautiful piece of art that I'm blessed, and it's changed my life to be a part of this.
Davied, tell us a little bit about your music.
Oh, music. You know, I love music. I never thought I could do it growing up because hip hop was so gangster when I was growing up that I was like, this is not for me. And then I started listening to more conscious rap, and I was like, whoa, this is everyday stuff that I could rap about. And, you know, poetry I'd always write, and then just became a hobby. Open mics started evolving into music, and now I'm releasing music. I invested in myself, I have a studio, and I just try to have fun. It keeps me occupied when there's not acting gigs.
Where can we find your music?
Oh, everywhere you listen to music, you can find me. If you look up Active Poet, you can find everything. I released an album recently called Lighthearted that I'm super proud of, that you guys should listen to. Yeah. And going off what Ivette said about only doing passion projects, after doing such a beautiful piece of art like this and having like really meaningful questions after and great discussions with the audience, and like it just moved me. I was like, all art should be like this. I want to do this. But I was also in the Seagull, which I super enjoyed as well after that. And I've apologized to Lisa on many occasions, being like, I know I should audition for that. City Lights, I love everything you do. Why did I audition? I know, multiple times. You guys do such great work. I'm a fan.
Now this may be unbelievable, but some of you may not know who Lisa is. So it's Lisa Mallette, our executive artistic director. And in the red, you can see Anne Younan, our general manager. And we all miss each other a lot. So it's like, oh, I see you. We have a few questions over in the chat. One from Evelyn and Christian. It says, how many times have you yourselves, as actors, experienced INU outside of being in the show? And Yvette, I know you watched the British version with Maisie Williams, I think. And Davied is saying 2.
Mm-hmm. So just once.
Just that other time, just with Maisie Williams.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you, my husband was in the UK. I've told you about this before. My husband was in the UK and saw this production at Hampstead Theatre, and he said, you both were better.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, he loved the City Lights production so much. Thank you. Here's a question here from Catherine Little. It says, how different was it to play over Zoom than in person? I can only imagine how difficult it is to act. It's an
it's so different. It's hard, honestly, because there were parts getting back into the script that I would look at Davied and say, what happened here? Why was there, this feels like a natural pause. What's going on? What did we do? And then I realized, oh, that's where I hug you. That's where I break down, and I let my guard down, and I just go in for a hug. And then I'm like, oh, I can't do that. So getting to that emotional place is a little bit harder. There were things that I was like, I just want to be up and moving around, and you don't get that with Zoom.
Yeah, and through rehearsal, me and Yvette were like, I want to look at you, but it looks like my eyes look like they're more down, rather than if I'm looking at the camera and everyone else could think like we're connecting, but we're really not. So we try to play around with just looking at the camera, so everyone, as an audience, we can put on the best show possible. But I wanted to look at you, Yvette. I wanted to.
I did too. I had really had to imagine like looking into your eyes and being like, oh, it's so sad.
Yeah.
So
live theater rocks, always, forever.
It's very different, and it's hard, especially when you're in a play with only one other person and you're supposed to be in the same room. And then I'm like, do I look at stuff that you're supposedly looking at too?
It's all true. It's interesting because it's been 4 years since you've done this play together, and when you were in it before, you were closer to being teenagers, and now you're a little bit farther along down the road. And I wonder if revisiting the play again, were there things that you saw in the script that you see differently now that you have a different perspective on life? Mm-hmm. Just to put you on the spot.
Thank you for that.
Appreciate sure. It.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
Improv, theater. Mm-hmm.
It was harder for me to get back into that, into, I guess, the cadence of how much energy she has and how strongly she feels everything. We had to work a lot on that, on just like the way that Davied and I said all the lines, and remembering like what we were like as teenagers, which, I mean, you're not aware of how you are when you're a teenager. You're just like, this is me. But then you're an adult and you have to play down, and you're like, oh, is that not enough? Do I have to give more? Is it? I thought that was enough. And now I was reading it and going, am I going to sound a little too adult? Is this going to be weird?
Yeah, every time I play down, I always have to remember I'm not mature when I'm reading. Like, the situations that you handle as an adult, you're like, let's come to an agreement. You're so calm, but like either everything is super important or like super awkward. So you're like, oh, well, you're cute. Why aren't you? Like what? Like these things are not as easy to say. You haven't practiced over years. Bad relationships, good relationships. You haven't worked those things out. But yeah, looking back at the script, it just makes me cry and remember moments. Like, we had so many great moments through rehearsal. Me and Yvette were just talking about some crazy moments we had.
man. And there's not that interaction with the audience, which, doing a full production, you work for weeks and weeks, or, however much time you have. And you get to a certain point where everybody in the room agrees, you need an audience. We need an audience. We need that other part of the play, because we hear you. And sometimes we see you. So we hear and see your reactions, every fidget, every moment of stillness. And with this show, it was so apparent. Every time something clicked for somebody, you would hear a little gasp, or yes, especially at City Lights. You'd hear that gasp, or someone being like it just dawns on them, and that kind of adds something else to you. It lights that little fire. And so, of course, over Zoom, you don't get any of that.
And I also remember how much detail we spent. I remember, Lisa, you coming in, and during tech, we spent all of tech focusing on that last scene. I was like, it's not right. What's missing? Oh, let's try this again. No, George, different sound, reverb in there. Like, it was so awesome. We spent so much time on the ending, but I think it did exactly what it was supposed to because of our attention to detail, which was awesome.
I'd be curious, for those of you watching who saw the play, what your experience was about that twist ending. I don't want to say any more for people who haven't seen it, but if anyone who's seen the show wants to type how they felt, type into the chat how they felt at that surprise ending of this play. Just what you did, how you felt. Did you sit right up in your seat? Did your jaw drop? That kind of thing. Feel free to type that in. Yes, Miranda's saying so much time went into the final moment. Yes, yes. Evelyn and Christian have another good question. They said, do you feel like being in the piece changed you as people in any way, learning from the characters? Ooh.
Yeah. You want me to go first this time, Yvette? Or you want
yes,
to take
please.
it away? All right. I remember after this play, I wanted to get Walt Whitman tatted all over my body. Glad I didn't do that because I still look super young and I could still play young. And I was like, oh, I need leaves of grass just everywhere. But yeah, I mean, I signed up to be an organ donor like the next time I renewed my license right away, because I'm just like, the beautiful thing in like the beginning of this play, Lauren Gunderson says somebody doesn't have to be white, doesn't have to be black, but they just have to be of different races to show like humanity and like how much we can support each other internally and externally. And I don't know, the sense of humanity in like such young characters, and then finding these pockets to like connect when they're so opposed. It was just, man, it just made me want to be so much nicer to people. You never know what other people are going through. Like people in high school, especially, like we're so critical at that age, and like you're like, oh, that person's weird for like not coming to school, but no one really knew that she had like a liver problem or like, all this stuff she's going through. So you never know what's on, people's chalkboard or what they're wearing every day. So I just chose to be a little bit nicer to people after that.
Dang, well said. I agree. Yeah, definitely made me think a lot about humanity and the way that we connect with others. And just a lot about love and platonic love, and also just like the bonds you form with friends, even people that you don't know for a long time. Because like these characters didn't know each other. I mean, they knew each other for a day, and they grew so close, and there are just people that you connect with on such a deep level. So it made me think a lot about that. I was an organ donor, but I just was like making sure to be like, all right, I'm an organ donor still. That became much more, that became very important for me, and talking to other people about organ donation and considering that. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like Davied just said everything.
Speaking of that, I'm gonna say one more thing.
Yes, please.
The fact that art connects so many people, it was just like,
yes,
Walt Whitman is what like bridged the gap between us, and like how art continues to do that, like City Lights and live theater period continues to connect people, movies, painting, music, like it's the bridge for so many people. And
yeah, and you can see that, like, especially talking to everybody, a lot of you that were there, and then I love our post-show parties because we can, in the moment, talk to people and we can get your feedback, we can get your emotions, and we can share like, yes, that meant so much to me. I'm so glad that it read to you. Or if you have questions, and that kind of connection also, that really stuck with me. There have been 2 shows, I and You being one of them, where those post-show parties, I think about them often, and it's this show and Truce, because they had so much emotion and so many things came up and so many beautiful stories were shared. So it means a lot, and you carry that with you as a performer and as a person. And it just, whenever I think about that, it makes me feel so happy and honored that I've been able to form some form of connection with everyone who watched the piece.
That's really beautiful. It's interesting that Davied brought up the thing about casting, because I wrote down a quote from the playwright, Lauren Gunderson. She says in the beginning of this play that the characters should be cast just not of the same race. It doesn't matter who has which background, but she just said it is essential that the actors not be of the same race. And I wrote down this quote from her, and the reason she says that is the entire point of this play and the Whitman poetry its characters reference is unity, democracy, and oneness. It's lovely. That's really beautiful. For those of you who haven't been looking in the chat, there's some really cool things that people wrote. I asked, how did you feel when you saw the play, the twist ending? I'm seeing, my mind was blown. Mike Kelly says, my mind was blown. Deb Anderson says, it was that moment when the entire audience gasped as one. It was pretty magical. Chris says, jaw drop, mind blown, and I bought Leaves of Grass. Precious says,
I kept it.
Get tattooed. Yeah.
I kept the pretty copy. He kept the actual one that he worked on because
it's there. I have it.
Davied did his homework. He took the time. He took that specific prop that we used. He took it home. He highlighted. He wrote in it. Like, he wanted to have a lived copy of the poem that we just tossed around every night. And I was like, can I keep the really pretty copy?
You know, like the more I get into acting, the more I feel like you have to have relationships with everything. And I feel I learned that in I and You. So every time you threw it around, I was like, oh, no, you don't understand how much time I put in this, Ivette or Caroline, whoever you are. This means the world to me.
Yeah.
I remember, too, we had a lot of discussion over what the cover should look like, because there's been so many iterations over the years of, like, there's different covers with his face on it. There's, like, pictures of leaves. And I know Noelle, like, I brought in pictures and she chose that one, and I think it was a really good choice because it's not overwhelmingly busy. I mean, I think it was perfect. And yeah, Debbie like highlighted everything and like wrote in notes. Yvette did have the pretty copy. I do remember that. Yeah.
And the edition too. We decided which edition of the poem. So we settled on the 1855 edition.
Right. I do remember that. Yeah.
I have to read another couple of these quotes in case.
Please.
Yvette and Davied, are you seeing these quotes in the chat? Probably not, because you're talking. I'm going to read you a couple more because they're really, really beautiful. So we're talking about everyone having the jaw drop at the end of the play. Roy Gordon says, most startling moment of 60 years of theater going.
Wow.
Oh, yeah, it's just wow. And Alejandro says, I missed this play when it was done 4 years ago, but I read and I threw my iPad across the room when I got to the end and sobbed. It's really, I'm not going to say any more for those of you who haven't seen it because it's just, yeah, wow. There is a question here from Mike Kelly who wants to know why the 1855 edition.
There was a very specific reason.
There was, I just can't remember at the moment why. I mean, it's gone through so many different versions, but
yeah, he worked on it for so long.
He kept editing it on his deathbed, right? That's what he said.
Did it have something to do with the whole Walt Whitman sexy sex?
Oh, maybe.
It was like more uncensored or something.
Yeah. Because I read another version too, and this, yeah. I think this one is the little bit more free version, probably. That sounds about right, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, it was I'm sorry we don't have a more clean answer, but it was a very early discussion.
Anne, you have to explain the Walt Whitman sexy sex.
Hey, you brought it up, Ivette. Take it away.
It's a part from the show where we're talking about the poetry and all of the things that Walt Whitman is talking about. And Anthony starts to say, you know, I mean, dude's having a lot of sex in this poem. And I'm like, what? No, he's not. And he's like, yeah, and I think he might be a little gay. And I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah. Oh, you know, people, they didn't just have like sex. They also had sexy sex. And it was this whole thing about like, don't look up Walt Whitman sexy sex on my computer. And it was a really funny bit in the play. I think David's looking it up right now.
I was trying to find an exact quote, but you nailed it. I was about to say, we went to the computer. It was great. Yeah.
It was a little bit of slapstick where I'm like trying to take the book from him and trying to block my computer so he doesn't look up Walt Whitman's sexy sex.
This play is not just about crying, the audience crying and stuff. Like, it's very funny. It's very sweet. They're just, yeah.
You know,
does anyone else have any? Yes, Anne says no one wants that in their search history. Yes, Anne. You're saying all the best stuff, but you don't say it on camera. Does anyone else have any questions for our wonderful actors or anyone else who worked on the show? I'm going to see if I can pull up a different photo that shows Miranda's amazing props more, because this was Caroline's bedroom. Like, it was just...
It was a lot of work went into decorating a teen girl's bedroom. With the French fries.
Those waffle fries.
Well, the waffle fries, yeah.
Which
I will
almost choked on one night.
Yep.
Oh, that's right.
For sure, one night, a couple times almost. I'm gonna tell you right now, if you see any actors eating on stage, it's hard. You have to stuff your mouth sometimes, like I did, because we blocked it that way. Of me, out of spite, eating all of his fries. But they're fries that they've been frozen, they've been heated up, and then they sit there. So sometimes they're a little bit stale. And I got a little overzealous one night. I, out of a lot of spite that night, stuffed my face with them, and then I had to angrily chew my way through them because I had a lot to say, and I breathed in at just the right moment, and I felt it start to go down my windpipe, and then I went, nope, not gonna happen, still had a ton in my mouth, kept chewing ferociously, and that made me angry as the character, so I glared at him more, and it was such a funny moment that whoever got to experience that, the audience was laughing more because there was just so much frustration, and I'm over here like, Ivette doesn't want to die. Caroline is pissed.
I remember I think I saw that show and I was like, oh, she's getting there. She'll get there. It's fine. It's just, give her a second. And then it was, the audience like kind of knew that there was like a pause and knew something was happening, and it just made it so much funnier. Yeah. Oh God, it was so good.
David, the human, was like, I might have to give her the Heimlich. Anthony was like, what did I stumble into? I should leave. This is not going to work.
I just want to add something that I think is fascinating. It's so moving at the end. We're talking about throwing iPads and weeping for days. And I think it's so fascinating that the storytelling of live theater, that meant we have to do the play. Like, we don't run and hide from that kind of deep feeling, even if it's sad. You know, the whole point is to engage people to the point of actually feeling something. And when I first read that play, when I was trying to figure out what plays we were going to do, I could not stop crying. And while I was crying, I was like, we have to do this play, not the opposite of, I can't do this play, you know? But the truth is that Lauren Gunderson's words are so beautiful, and Walt Whitman's words, but really the difference is the human beings that are saying those words. So Ivette and David bringing their whole selves and their hearts and their spirits and their innate charm to the piece is what made it come alive. So as wonderful as it is to read, it's meant to be seen through two young people's spirits, and you two you just nailed it. I mean, you were just perfect for those roles. I still see you as those characters in my mind. I really can't see anybody else. You were lovely.
Thank you
Thanks.
so much. Thank you for casting me.
I've been trying to ever since.
I know. Trust me. I'm yeah. I totally remember too us working on the end, and I remember reading it thinking the ending was sad, and I was being like, no, it's happy, and I was like, and it just like changed that.
It changes it so much. It adds so much more when you don't see it as a downer, when you're like, no, he's here for that. Like there's just so much happiness in life.
And it was one of my favorite, my daughter's favorite plays. So at the time, I guess Sophie was 12 or 13, and Olivia was like 8 or 9. And the play sparked conversation about organ donating. And, like, are you doing that, Mom? And when can we make that decision? And so that was cool too. Just to have young people seeing young people on stage is very powerful.
Yeah, I appreciate that Lauren Gunderson wrote these 2 teens. I think often when we think of teenagers in plays, we often think about them as like one note or shallow. There's like a sad idea that we have of teenagers in certain media, and I like that she made them completely like just teenagers living their lives and having strong opinions about things, but then also being very complex and not afraid of all of these strong emotions, or afraid and then just diving into it. Yeah.
That was really good. We've got one more question I want to throw at y'all.
Cool.
Speaking of Lauren Gunderson, there's another question. Have you connected with any other Lauren Gunderson pieces?
Oh, my Atlanta. Let me take this away. Oh, City Lights, Silent Sky. Get out of here. I cried so much. Oh, I saw it at TheaterWorks. Great production. I don't know. I know I sound like they're paying me to say all this stuff, but I love City Lights, and maybe it's just the intimate space. When you're that close, you see everyone sweating and like all the emotions. Oh, when the lights went off as people were dying. Oh!
I'm getting emotional just thinking about it. And I remember watching
Silent Sky. That's the play that Davita's talking about.
Yeah, Silent Sky. Sorry.
Yeah, we did
Silent Sky.
About pioneering women astronomers in the early 1900s, and it's a gorgeous play.
I watched it. I remember watching it on opening night, and it got to that part where you just see the constellations and the sky and George Soros's wonderful like music, and then I was just sobbing. It just started falling out of my eyes, and it was that kind of deep sobbing, and I where you can't stop. And I remember I said I haven't cried that hard since I had to cry on stage during INU, because it was unstoppable. It was where you're kind of like and it was just falling out of my eyes, but it was so full of hope, and it was just so good.
Yeah, I think it was early on dates with my current girlfriend, and like I was trying not to hold back the tears, but I was looking at her and she was crying too, and I was like, it's good. She's crying, I'm crying, expressing emotions is what I do.
Yeah, I was like super pregnant during Silent Sky, and so emotional hormones. I'm just like, I can't watch this play anymore. Beautiful play. We've done a lot of plays by Lauren Gunderson. Miss Bennet, Christmas at Pemberley, The Wickham's Christmas at Pemberley. In 2015, we did Exit Pursued by a Bear, which is this really quirky revenge comedy at Miranda's Cheering. Yeah, so if you've never seen or read a play by Lauren Gunderson, if that's possible in this country, because she's done all the time, do yourselves a favor, because she's fabulous. Anything else that anybody wants to add? We're getting close to 9 o'clock here. I don't know if their Exit was playing 5 years ago today, says Carol. Instagram told me. Thank you, Carol. That's her marketing assistant. before we wrap up, anything else that Ivette and Davied would you like to say about the production, or any last questions anyone would like to throw into the chat?
I got a funny memory if you guys want to hear. Sure. All right. Let's go for it. Me and Ivette were talking about this. There was one day when I was feeling myself and I was like, I deserve some Chinese food. And right before the show, I got this big box of chow mein and I stuffed it. And Ivette was looking at me like, are you serious? And I was like, yeah, I haven't had chow mein in so long. And it's 30 minutes. House is opening and I'm like, oh, my stomach hurts and I feel like I'm going to throw up. And she was like, there's no intermission in the show. And I'm like, I know. What did I do to myself? And like 5 minutes before, I was like, I need to go to the bathroom. And they're like, okay, we're holding. So I went to the bathroom, did my thing. And I was like, I still kind of feel like I'm going to throw up. But, if it happens, it happens. I'm going to keep it down, And I didn't throw up, guys. I held it down. But it was a moment.
I feel like I was like, there's a trash can on set. We really need to.
You guided me. You're like, if you need.
This brings up a good point. If you're in a show that is 90 minutes long or however long it may be and there's no intermission, you kind of have to, as an actor, you kind of have to go, okay, what can I eat? When am I going to not eat or drink anything? Because there is no way I can leave the stage. And then you also have to think about what you're going to eat, Davied.
Yes.
That won't make you feel sick.
And we also planned some water bottles around the set. I remember we had like certain places to drink and stuff.
Did you ever use one?
I don't know. 4 years ago. Who knows what I did? Besides chow mein. Making the chow mein mistake. Never again.
Words to live by.
Yep.
And there was a lot of food in that show too. There's a lot of food and there's a lot of food being talked about. Oh, this was so nice. Ivette, Davied, thank you so much for sharing this with us. Thank you all for being here with us. This was a really, really lovely evening. I guess that's it for now. We have a bunch of cool stuff coming up on the next few weeks of the next stage. We have Mr. Tassi Alabastro next week on Twitch doing a variety show. The week after that, we have Kit Wilder demystifying Hamlet for us, walking it through and making you see how it relates to your life. There's lots and lots of cool stuff coming up. You can go to cltc.org/thenextstage to find all the latest. And thank you again so much to all of you who donated before the show. That is just wonderful. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We are thinking of all of you. We miss you. We can't wait to welcome you back. Kisses, hugs. Everybody stay safe.
Thank you.
Thank you.